This podcast episode contains strong language and adult content. It may not be suitable for young listeners or really anyone. Please use your judgment. I'm Kam Nichols, and I'm the counselor.
I'm Iggy Samaniego, and I'm the former criminal turned comedian.
And we'd like to welcome you to our podcast. On today's episode, Iggy and I share stories about burglary, some from real life and some from his criminal life.
And I also learned a few interesting historical law tidbits.
So we hope you enjoy it as much as we did recording it. The following is a true crime story. Names have been changed to protect those involved. My fantasy world slapped me in the face with its wet hands. That's how Scott, on wearenotavictim.org, describes the moment he realized the safe, idyllic life his family lived was not impermeable. Rewind to a few days earlier. Scott was at home one afternoon when he heard an insistent knocking at his door. It lasted about 5 minutes and Scott didn't answer. He then saw a man walk down their alley, examining the garage and gate. Scott followed, and when the man saw him, he left the alley. Though it left him unsettled, Scott took no further action at that time. A few days later, Scott and his wife left the house in the evening to run a 1-hour errand. When they returned, they found the glass on the front door broken. When they explored the house, their belongings were everywhere and another door had apparently been kicked in. That's when Scott knew they had been the victims of burglary. Welcome to The Counselor and the Con, a true crime comedy podcast that goes off the record to bring together a former criminal turned comedian and a current lawyer turned crime enthusiast to dip into stories from the world of crime and punishment. Oh, and it turns out we're friends.
Wait, we're homies.
Wait, there's a difference?
There's a big difference.
What's the difference?
Look, like if you need to be bailed out, a friend's not gonna go, but a homie will be right there with a bail money exact change.
Hopefully I don't ever need that service, but it's good to know I have a homie if I do. I'm counselor at law, Kam Nichols.
And I'm former criminal turned comedian Iggy Samaniego.
I'm still a practicing lawyer, but Iggy is not still a practicing criminal. Nonetheless, he has some valuable stories to share with us, and hopefully I'll have some interesting tidbits to throw in as well. On our show, I'm going to give Iggy a topic having to do with various criminal exploits, and he's going to share stories from his own past and those of others he knows. So today, we're going to be discussing burglary, like the one that Scott and his family experienced. Iggy, do you have any burglary experience?
That depends how much time we got.
As long as these people will listen to us.
How long is this podcast? Yeah, I got a few stories because, look, I was a criminal, but burglary was kind of my strong suit.
It was your area of expertise.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, I have a few. One I would like to open up with is because when we first came up with the idea for this podcast, and we go, let's mesh true crime and comedy, and let's see what happens. Someone told me, they go, how are you going to make burglary or crime funny? It's not that it's funny, the act of it, but there's funny shit in there. Look, I had this friend that hit me up one time, and he says, hey man, you want to go help me with this job, break into his house? And I go, sure. He gave me some of the details. But when he got to this point, this is the kicker. He goes, we're going to steal a gun from a blind guy.
Wow.
That's what I said. Like, what, how, what, all right. And this guy was, let me just preface by saying this dude was, if you know white dudes that grew up in the hood with Mexicans, they're the craziest ones, man. I guess they feel like they got to overcompensate. I don't know.
Ladies, this is a great dating tip.
He was not a bad looking dude. So yeah, you're right. But Jace, oh, you know what? I shouldn't have said his name. Casper. We'll go with Casper. Casper hits me up and he tells me this. And this dude was crazy. So when he told me this, I thought he was fucking with me. I go, all right, that's funny. But no, really, what's the job? He goes, that's it. He explained to me that it was like some sort of antique gun. I don't know. Just this gun had special meaning to someone and we needed to steal from this guy. And so we go to the house that we're going to break into. And my homie Casper is smash and grab type of crazy dude. And I go, hey man, hold on. This is not how I operate. Like, let's just scope out the joint first, see what's going on.
You wanted to case it just like the person in my story.
Yeah, exactly. This is when people hear about these stories, whatever, I hope that they get something from this as like an oh shit moment where they go, oh, that's right. I didn't think of that. Because in my eyes, we're going to notice a pattern in this dude's life and his behavior, whatever. So either he comes out and he has a seeing eye dog, and I've seen these type of blind people before where they count steps so they could walk on their own and around the neighborhood and come back. This blind dude was one of them. So when he walks out with his seeing eye dog, you see him counting steps, goes a few blocks, turns right, another right. And we timed him. When he came back, it was about 30 minutes. So I tell Casper, let's come back tomorrow same time. If this dude goes on a walk like that, then we'd have to do a smash and grab.
Right, you can just steal from a dog.
Well, the dog can't testify in court, so yeah. So we do that. We come back the following day, same time. Sure enough, the black man comes out. He goes for his walk, and by the way, I'm laughing. This is not funny shit to me, but what's funny is we break in through. This is the oh shit moment for people, because when you go jogging, when you go walking around your block, do you lock your front door? Probably
Well, now
not.
I do.
Now, thank you. That's the reaction I wanted to get, and for the listeners too, that they go, "Oh shit, I didn't think of that," because we didn't go break a window, we didn't go kick a door. All I did was turn the knob, and it was unlocked because no one wants to carry their key while they go walking, you know. So we go in, and again, this guy's a crazier dude than I was at the time. I was more calm, but Casper. We find the gun, and he wants to get greedy. He wants to get more shit. Now he's getting VCRs, and for you youngsters that don't know, that's like old school DVDs.
I think DVDs are also old school now.
Oh shit! So it's like old school Netflix. But so we get there. This guy starts getting greedy, and now I'm looking at him. I'm looking at the watch. I'm looking at the door. I'm like, shit, yo, man, we should leave. Even though we still have about 15 more minutes, we should leave. He doesn't. He starts getting more stuff, and then I see the door handle, the doorknob jiggle.
So pause, because what you've described so far, when the crime of burglary first came around, wouldn't have even constituted a crime, or at least it wouldn't have constituted the crime of burglary. It might be trespassing, but it wasn't burglary, because in order to be burglary, it had to happen at night and there had to be someone home. So you would still have qualified under the criteria of breaking into a place where someone lives, and you intended to steal something, obviously, even though it was an antique pistol or whatever. But the rest of it would have kept you out of serious trouble, maybe.
So it would have been a misdemeanor. Right on. I was born in the wrong era.
We should have put you back in the 1500s.
That's a cool little legal history tidbit. I like that. And so now I see the door jiggle, and I motion to Casper like, yo, this cat's coming. Stop. Because he's blind. If we just stop, he won't see us. Shit, we panicked too, but just froze up against the wall. And when the man walks in, I don't know if he knew we were there because of the significance of the gun and who wanted it, who hired us to get that gun. But I know he knew we were there because he walks into his own house and he stops for a split second. And he's blind, so he just stops and he's just looking, facing forward. But he stops, and I go, shit, he knows we're here. Maybe he smelled us, I don't know, but I know he knew we were there. And he walks directly in front of us, and his seeing eye dog's like the nicest dog. I felt so bad. He's like licking us, like, hey man, move. Like,
again, you're stealing from the dog.
Oh shit. Yes, that's right. And then the man walks by, and I could see into his, what I found out later was his bedroom, because he lays down on the bed, just face up, doesn't say nothing. Almost like he's waiting for something, you know? We already had the gun. So when he does that, he lays down, we just tippy-toe out the front door, get in the car, and we take off.
See, to me, that's the part that makes burglary so terrifying, because I can imagine being there in my bedroom, laying there, well, let's face it, probably naked, when someone comes into my home, and then what do? Maybe you freeze, maybe you freak. I don't know.
Yeah, but the blind guy wasn't as good looking as you. But, which if you think about it is creepy, because, I mean, even though I'm pretty sure he knew we were there, let's say he didn't. Now there's two guys. And I'm calm. I wasn't the smash and grab, but Jace, if I would not have been there with Jace probably would have choked this dude out or attacked him in some sort of way. That's creepy.
So what did you do?
We left. We just took off, and I'm sure he would not have done that if I wouldn't have been there, you know? So it could have been way worse. And
yeah, that does sound like it had the potential to go really badly. And let's face it, had you further committed crimes while on the property, such as assaulting this poor blind man or his dog, that would have upped the ante quite a bit, especially if you were to be caught. Were you ever caught for that one?
Not for that one, no. I was only caught one time and charged one time, but the other story is kind of a lead up to that, because I had a code, a list of rules that I would follow when I would go do this. Like,
so is this like the honor among thieves type list?
No, just my personal, like, let me not do this. Like, look, like this other story, I broke two of my rules.
What rules did you break?
All right, so the first one I broke
besides the crimes themselves. Let's say that those are rules.
Besides the main one, what I did, I double dipped. I broke in once and then went back again the same night. I double dipped. That's rule number one. Don't do that. And for this story, I didn't get caught for that one either, but I did double dip. And when it was my homie Devil that hit me up with this job, he goes, "Hey man, I got this drug dealer that I buy from. I know they got a quarter pound in that house, and I know they're not there for about 3 days." What I should have done was scoped it out first, but I didn't. I just took his word on it.
So wait, a quarter pound of what?
Of grass. I'll call it grass.
I think everyone listening will know what you mean.
People in their 60s like, I get it. Youngsters like, what is that, man? What? Yo, so we broke into a plug's house and we stole some fire. Anyway, this is the fucked up part about this story, because with all my break-in stories, I feel bad. I feel embarrassed of what I did. And maybe this, like, telling my stories now is like a way to atone for them. I don't know. But this one's especially bad because it was around Christmas time.
Oh, man. First the dog and now Christmas?
I know I was a piece of shit. I know. What emphasis on the was. And so my friend tells me, my homie Devil tells me, there's a quarter pound in there. They're not going to be there for 3 days, whatever. So I go in. I searched everywhere and I couldn't find nothing. Drug-wise, I found other stuff. Like, this is what I say, I felt like a piece of shit because I couldn't find the weed, and I stole gifts, Christmas gifts, under the Christmas tree. I literally took them, put them in a sack like a reverse Santa Claus.
You're the Grinch. You're the actual Grinch.
Was. And then, so I did that. I said, man, I'm not going to leave you here empty-handed. So I put some toys in gifts in a, what's it called, a pillowcase. Took off.
AKA ghetto Santa sack.
Yeah, they go reverse Santa, man. And I go and I hit up my homie Dave, because we're neighbors. We're like right across the street from each other. He goes, "Hey man, so did you get this shit?" I go, "But I couldn't find nothing." He goes, "Bullshit. There's a quarter pound there. I know there is." This is why I fucked up and I double dip. I went, "Well, I do want the weed too." So I went back, and this time I found it under the entertainment center.
And they say Christmas can't come twice.
And I also found a giant ashtray full of roaches, like half smoked joints. I took that too. Anyways, that's just at the point. But yeah, I took it, and it was funny you said earlier about honor among thieves. There was a quarter pound in there. When I went back and reported to Devil, it was less than a quarter pound. And he goes, "I know it's a quarter pound, but where's the rest of it?" I go, "No, I swear this all I found was this 2 little baggies." But karma came back and it bit me in the ass, because so I stole the weed and I gave Devil his cut for his finder's fee.
Wait, literally the devil's cut?
The devil's cut.
Oh my gosh, that's so cliche.
And actually his nickname was Diablo, but I'll say Devil for the white folk out there.
Thanks.
So I give Devil his cut and I take mine back home. I don't say what age I was, but I was living with my parents. Anyways, had the weed there, went to sleep because it's already late at night. So I wake up in the morning, gonna go get the weed to roll a joint, and it was gone. My brother's in the top bunk bed. My twin brother, Lazy, shout out to Lazy, was in the top bunk bed. I go, "Hey man, that's messed up. You're gonna steal from your own family?" And he's like, "What do you mean steal?" I go, "The weed, bro. You stole my quarter pound." He goes, "No, I didn't steal it." And at that point, I see my stepdad walking down the hallway with a 3-liter Sprite plastic bottle with some shit inside of it. I go, what is that? I went and I looked. He had found my weed, took it, and he put it in alcohol in the plastic bottle. So my stepdad was doing CBD before CBD was a thing.
Oh, it was like homemade CBD.
Yeah, he soaked our weed in rubbing alcohol, and he's gonna rub it on his joints to relieve pain. Anyway, so I find that me and my brother emptied out the alcohol, microwaved the weed to try to dry it out.
Ew.
It was still wet, so we put it on top of the roof in the back room. We tried to smoke it. It was horrible. It was a half a quarter pound. I'm not good with measurements. What's a half of a quarter pound?
An eighth of a pound?
There you go. An eighth of a pound ruined.
I feel like you kind of deserved that though.
I deserved a lot of things from that.
Which it's actually interesting that you weren't caught very often. You said other than one time, right?
Yeah, I was caught and charged only one time.
Well, typically, like for every 100,000 burglaries, there's only about 55 arrests.
Oh,
so shit. It's really not surprising that you weren't caught. It's a really hard crime to investigate and then to actually make an arrest on.
Yeah, especially if I'm not saying I was a master burglar, but I was very observant, and I was well on my way to becoming good at this, because the one time I did get caught was again when I broke my 2 rules, and which were the same 2 rules that I broke in the previous one.
So you didn't learn anything.
I did. It's just all right. So this one.
Well, hold that thought, because we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll hear more about burglary.
Hey there, friends and pals. If you want to catch more of The Counselor and the Con, sign up at thecounselorandthecon.com and look us up at the Border Geek Podcast Network on Facebook. This is God.
And we're back. We've been hearing stories about burglary from our former con, Iggy Samaniego. And earlier in our podcast, I started to mention a few things about the history of burglary. It's actually kind of interesting because burglary's been around for a really long time. I mean, I referenced the 1500s, but really, if you look back, there's ancient references to breaking into a house as well. Things like the Old Testament mention it. But the term burglary itself was created by the Saxons in about the 1450s.
You know, they say the oldest profession is prostitution was the oldest profession.
Either that or lawyers, and you can fill in your joke here.
I think it was burglary because as soon as people started having or gathering shit, someone wanted to steal it. Someone didn't have what you had, and I needed it or I wanted it. I can make a case for that, but that'll be another episode.
Right. I still have questions about how you needed a VCR, but we're good on that for now. So as I was mentioning before, by necessity, in order to commit the crime of burglary, you had to be breaking into someone's house, like where they actually lived. So if you were breaking into a business or even like a shed or an outbuilding, it wouldn't necessarily be burglary. It also had to be at night, so you couldn't have a daytime burglary, although today that's certainly a possible criminal charge.
Not just a possible criminal charge. When most of them happen is during the day. When you're at work, when you're at school, that's when people strike. Burglars strike people. People don't strike.
Why?
Well, because I know you're not there. And there's some guys, like I said, my homie Casper from before, smash and grab. He doesn't give a shit who's there. But most burglars don't want an interaction. They don't want to see you. They don't want to come in contact with no one. And if I know that you work a 9 to 5, I'm going in from between 9 to 3. Just give me that 2-hour buffer in case they let you out early that day.
It's funny that you should mention smash and grab, because another part of like the historical definition of burglary was this idea of breaking and entering. They were kind of two separate parts of the crime. Breaking had to be something like actual, like forcing open a door. But it could also be like threatening someone until you let them in. Like, think about the big bad wolf, little pig, let me in. That type can still be considered breaking. But if you are allowed in, like a vampire, then it would not be considered breaking and entering. The other part of that was the entering, and that's the physical entry into the property. So if you didn't actually enter the property, like, it wouldn't constitute what we call common law burglary, meaning the definition of burglary before it was a statute.
Whether was this like before misdemeanor and felony? Like, was there a...
The law made
would they differentiate?
The law made some distinction as far as how you would be punished, but the terms for misdemeanor and felony really didn't come along until later.
But like, if you do that, it's not that bad, but we'll still cut your hand off. Or
well, and actually, it's interesting because this there are degrees of burglary, and what they are differs from state to state. But it used to be that first degree burglary was that traditional definition I was talking about, where it happens at night and you break into someone's house. But they did have a second degree burglary where you break in during the day and there's no one home, and that's kind of what you've been talking about as well.
Yeah, that's most of my stories were pretty much that scenario. This one was like that too, and I guess this will be my last story for this episode on burglary. But it was another time where I broke two of my cardinal rules of doing this dumb shit. But I double dipped and I didn't case out the joints.
So at the very beginning of our episode, we talked about the casing being the guy knocking on the front door to see if anyone is home and then like wandering around the property. But you're saying you didn't do that this time? Why not?
Well, because he was not a homie. This is a difference between homie and friend. This guy was a friend. He was not a homie.
So, okay, wait. I just want to recap the stories briefly here. Number 1, steal from a blind guy and his dog. Number 2, be the Grinch and steal Christmas presents as well as weed. And now, number 3, we steal from our friends who are not quite homies.
Yeah, like I told you, I was a former piece of shit. I should have said that. Former burglar and piece of shit. It's opportunist, yeah. And you know, we probably got the loot, the whatever we take over. It was probably just enough to buy a couple of quarts of beer and some weed.
So what was the opportunity that presented itself this time?
Well, what happened this time was my other homie Chino. I got him home and he was already there, and he had quarts of beer, and we're pretty much poor teenage kids. I go, where'd you get that? He goes, well, I broke into this dude's house and fenced the stuff, and now I got beer. You want to go back again? At which point I should have said, no thanks, let's just keep drinking. But he convinced me to go back. There's still other shit in there. So I got greedy and I wanted more party.
Plus, we always make such good decisions when alcohol's involved.
Especially when you're a teenager. So, and he convinced me to go back, and he did say like, oh, I re-scoped it out. They're not there. So we did. He convinced me. We went back, and we're talking about the noticing human pattern or whatever. This was a guy that we knew he was a friend. But if you have kids, especially teenagers, and they have friends, you know you have a side door that you don't lock, that your kids' friends know you don't lock. That was the case in this burglary. We knew they don't lock the side door. We knew they weren't there because they told us we were going on a mini vacation, whatever. So anyway, so we go. Didn't have to break a window, no alarms. We just knew how to get in.
So now we're going to have all of our listeners suspecting their kids' friends of devious motives.
You should. You might be right 50% of the time. But so now we're in, and my homie Chino, let me preface this by saying, my homie Chino was not the most sane dude. He was kind of crazy. But the funny part of this story was that we go into this house, and they have a pet parrot on a stand.
Again with the stealing from animals.
There's always animals on this. I gotta know one about a cat. I'll tell you in another episode. But there's a parrot on this stand, and as we're going in, it's already starting to get dark. My homie Chino had gone in early in the morning. We go in around 6 p.m. Whatever. It's getting dark. Anyway, so my homie Chino accidentally hits the stand with his elbow, and the parrot starts chasing him around. I know parrots don't fly, but they glide. So this parrot chases him from one room to another room, and then it lands on the floor. And they had wood flooring, so here's a clanking of the talons on. He's chasing my homie, a cholo with a tattoo on his neck. Run and go, yo, dude, it's just a parrot. Just move it. We locked the parrot up in a closet, and we're taking, at this point, he had already taken everything of value. The VCR, which doesn't mean shit now, and at this point, we're just getting hoodies and jerseys and just dumb shit just to be greedy. And as he's doing that, my internal clock goes, we should be taking off right about now. As I'm thinking that, this house, my friend's house, had a very huge front window.
So why did that indicate that you needed to get out?
No, it didn't. The thing is that I'm keeping one eye on my greedy friend that doesn't want to leave, and I'm keeping one eye just to see if I see the car pull up. But I didn't see the car pull up. All I saw was, and one of those where I told him, hey man, we should take off already. Ya estuvo. I look, and we know the people. So my friend's older brother is now looking at me when I turn back around and hit the corner with my face. He's looking right at me, and I see the door jiggle. I'm like, shit. So I motioned to my homie Chino, like the international sign for that's it, let's roll, through the throat, like
the throat slash.
Yeah, he knew what time it was. Like, hey man, we gotta, that's it, they're there.
So how did you get out?
He dropped everything he had. So did I. And as we're going through the back door. So we got to go left and then another left. But the brother looking at us through the window in the front saw that we're going through the back. So he starts running around the house to the back. And this guy's older and faster and stronger than us. So it's like, shit, you better run. We had to run through the kitchen, through the long ass backyard.
So did he catch you or not?
This is a kicker. Chino and I both ran at the same time. We're right next to each other. We get to this rock wall about 6 feet high. I don't know how I Jackie Chan'd this wall, but I cleared that 1 6-foot wall with just touching it one time with my foot. I went over it, but when I went over, my friend's brother, the older brother, the one that saw us, grabs me by my jacket. When I told you I cleared this rock wall, I cleared it in one leap, but I'm also gonna biff it on the other side.
So expert in acrobatics as well as burglary. Yeah, we get it.
No, an expert would have landed on their feet. I was about to belly flop on the alley behind their house.
Ouch.
Yeah, and this guy grabs me from the jacket and like, oh shit. I wiggled out of it. Chino had cleared it. I took the attention off of Chino by grabbing by my jacket. But we're running down the alley. It's about 3 houses in from the street. So we're both running down the alley, and I told Chino, go right. Because to the right was this kind of safe house we had, stash house. So left was where we lived. I go right, Chino goes left. He got caught the same night. He went home, and they already knew who we were. They were waiting for him.
And this is the value of communication, even among burglars.
I told him, I wasn't even a comedian at the time, but I told him, no, your other right. Your other right, idiots. I think that or he was just lazy because he goes, well, home is because with the safe house, stash house, whatever that we had was about 2 miles from home to the right. When Chino went left, where we lived, we're neighbors. Where we lived was about 4 blocks. So he probably just got lazy and went, I'm going home.
So Chino got caught. Did you get caught?
We both did. Chino got caught the same night, and I got caught 2 weeks later. I was on the run for 2 weeks from that one.
Did the brother recognize you?
Oh, yeah, he did. And we saw him in court, and I saw him in a couple other places. Because, again, if he was about 10, 15 years older than us, so he was a grown-up, an adult, a big scary dude. Oh, we saw him in court, and I actually saw the victim too. The dude that was our friend, I ran into him at a bar 20 years later. It did not end well.
Oh, he didn't just like buy you a beer and say, how's it been?
No, I saw him and I tried to apologize to him because at this point I had already stopped doing what I was doing, and I felt bad. Here's a dude that was supposed to be our friend, and we did this shit to him. So I told him, hey man, I'm sorry that we broke into your house. That was not cool. And he said, who are you? He knew who I was. I still look the same. I look the same as I did when I was 15. And then I said, man, I shouldn't say my nickname, but fuck it. I say, it's Sharky, man, and I'm sorry that I broke into your house when we did. He was mad. He knew who I was. He knew what I was talking about. He tried to play it off. He goes, so what do you want to do about it? Like, basically, he challenged me like, what? I got over it. You still have that shit in your head?
Yeah. So to backtrack for just 1 minute, though, because I think probably what all of our listeners want to know is, was the parrot okay?
The parrot? Yes, he traumatized Chino, but other than that.
Well, okay, at least there's a silver lining there. That's our show for today. I know I've learned a thing or two about burglary.
And I've learned a thing or two about the law. So please remember to keep away from the silver bracelets.
And we'll see you next crime. I am still a lawyer, so of course I have to give a small disclaimer. I am a practicing attorney, but I am not your attorney. This show is not intended to give you legal advice, and it's not intended to be attorney advertising of any kind. If you liked what you heard, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to The Counselor and the Con on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or whatever platform you're using. Source information from today's show is in our show notes. You can also follow us on Facebook at Counselor and Con, on Instagram at The Counselor and the Con.
And this will be the only time that I encourage people to do creepy shit. Follow us on social media, DM us, tell your friends about us. Just help us spread the word. Also, if you have a crime story that you would like for us to showcase on the show, send us what we call a kite to Kam. You could either email us at counselorandcon@gmail.com, or like I said, DM us. You could also visit the website at
counselorandcon.com. It's a little bit of a tongue twister.
No, it's just brain damage, girl.
This has been a production of Dangerous Minds, LLC. Thanks to our technical producer and fellow homie, Nico Ajimian. We are distributed by Border Geeks Podcast Network with executive producer Jib Saad.